The 2021 MLB season is here, and although the seats may not be full, your bankroll has the chance to be. Greg Hoops Peterson has you covered for every game, every day this season, along with comprehensive analysis and angles for getting to the window while celebrating the walk-off winners and blown saves of what will be a wild season. Now it is time for the Baseball Betting Podcast with Greg Peterson.
A warm and friendly hello, welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Podcast. Myself, Greg Peterson. Got a great podcast for you. It's in the second segment. We are going to be joined by one of our good friends, Curtis Rogers of 710 ESPN in Seattle. He does pre- and post-game work for the Seattle Mariners. Going to be chatting with them all about this American League postseason race. We're going to be looking at the Mariners' chances of being able to get into the playoffs, as we've really got a do-or-die series coming up between the Oakland A's and the Seattle Mariners that winds up starting tonight. And then in the final segment, I'm going to be giving you picks and analysis on that and every game on the MLB betting board for this Monday, and a little something I like to call Touch 'em All. First things first, always love to be able to answer your Twitter questions on this podcast. You got one or two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at gunit_D1. Keep in mind, letters EM, naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to find whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not wind up getting in any Twitter questions today, and I actually am back in Las Vegas. It's not where I wanted, making a flub where I'm actually in insert your Midwest city here. Actually back in Las Vegas, so have no fear there, and have no fear if you're looking for great baseball, because we had a lot of it on Sunday. So let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Sunday night baseball game saw the Philadelphia Phillies leave 10 men on base, as it was the Mets getting the job done by a count of 3-2. Cam Peterson came in for 1 1/3 inning scoreless for the Phillies, but Kyle Gibson wound up allowing 3 runs, including a homer to the Mets. Difference in this one being Jeff McNeil's home run in the 7th inning, his 7th of the campaign, as Rich Hill doesn't necessarily give the start that you want for the Mets, giving up 2 runs in 4 2/3 innings, but the bullpen held up in this one. Trevor May along with Edwin Diaz both give you a scoreless inning. You get a combined 2 scoreless out of Seth Lugo and Aaron Loup, and Jersich Familia gives you an out of the bullpen as well. So the Phillies now find themselves 2 games out of the wild card, as the St. Louis Cardinals are grabbing hold of that second wild card spot. They take down the San Diego Padres, who give Jake Arrieta yet another start, and they get what they deserve. They wind up losing by a count of 8-7 as for Arrieta. In the last 12 starts that he's made, the team that he started for 0-12 in those, and he got 1 out, giving up 5 runs, 4 of which were earned. An absolute calamity. Craig Stammen has to come in for 3 2/3 innings, and this man has been almost used like a starter at this point for the Padres. He went scoreless in those. Pierce Johnson, though, he gives up 2 runs in an inning to Nelson Lamet, gives up a run in an inning, and then Daniel Hudson, Nabel Krisman both give you a scoreless inning, and Tommy Pham was able to get a home run off of Alex Reyes, as this thing wound up tightening up. 14th home run season for Reyes. He has become a little bit unreliable. Did go 2 innings, giving up 1 run in the process, and for J. Happ, he was a tad hapless, giving up 3 runs over the course of his 4 innings. Luis Garcia gives up 2 runs in a third of an inning. TJ McFarland gives up a run in his inning, but Genesis Cabrera seems to be picking it up. Pair of outs out of the bullpen, and Giovanni Gallegos able to close the door. He gets a save for the St. Louis Cardinals, who went 6 of 13 with men in scoring position, and the New York Post play of the day was the over in that game, so that wound up coming through with relative ease. The Oakland A's have not had a lot come easy to them recently, but they are now 29-10 in their last 39 games against the LA Angels, so wins in this series have come easy for them, 3-2. They take down the Angels in 10 innings. For Shohei Ohtani, gives up a pair of home runs in this one to Yan Gomes, his 14th home run season, and Matt Chapman, his 26th of the campaign. As for Ohtani, gives up 2 runs over the course of 8 innings, so even though he wound up giving up those 2 solo shots, he was a very, very reliable in this one, as the Angels were 10-3 in his last 13 starts going into this. Steve Cishek, Jose Quijada, both combined for a scoreless inning, and then Rossio Iglesias gives up the unearned run in the 10th inning, and for the LA Angels, just not a lot doing in this one. 4 total hits, as the A's got a very good start out of 1. Frankie Montas giving up 1 hit in 7 innings. Jake Diekman winds up giving you a scoreless inning, and then Sergio Romo tried to pour lighter fluid on this game, giving up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned hurt by Seth Brown error, but Lou Trevino gets the final 5 outs of the game. So in Oakland A's bullpen that hasn't been reliable, very nearly blew it, but they were able to do just enough to get the job done. The Atlanta Braves are trying to hold off the Philadelphia Phillies in the National League East, and they took a stride forward in doing so, 3-0. They take down the San Francisco Giants, as Eddie Rosario and Adam Duvall go yard in this one off of Anthony DeScalfani. Duvall gets his 36th home run season, and then Zach Liddell gives up Rosario's 12th of the campaign. As for DeScalfani, not a bad start. They stretched him out into the 7th inning, couldn't make it out of it, going 6 total innings, giving up 2 runs, and then Zach Liddell gives up that solo home run. Jose Alvarez, Camilo Duvall combine in for a scoreless inning, and then Kervin Castro gives you a scoreless inning. But for the San Francisco Giants, just no offense whatsoever. For the Braves, Max Fried, 7th scoreless inning. Luke Jackson and Will Smith from there both give you a scoreless one as well, so they were able to get it done in that. The Chicago White Sox, who have been rough on the road, well, you know what helps out with those road woes? Taking on the Texas Rangers in Arlington, as the White Sox now 36-37 on the road. They take down the Texas Rangers by a count of 7-2 for the White Sox. How about Yasmani Grandal, 22nd home run season, and I believe that he now has 9 home runs in like his last 60 at-bats. This man has been on fire. And Lucas Giolito, a good start, giving up 1 run over the course of 5 1/3 innings. Aaron Bummer was not a bummer. He gives you 2 outs out of the bullpen. Michael Kopech, a scoreless inning, and then Mike Wright Jr. winds up giving up 2 runs in an inning as Jordan Lyles gets destroyed. 3 2/3 innings, giving up 5 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run. For Lyles, he has now given up 37 home runs so far this year. That is not great. And then from there, you wind up having the bullpen of the Texas Rangers try to cobble things together. Brett Martin, Josh Orbich give him by in for 2 scoreless innings. Mike Fultonavich, he's not coming out of the bullpen. He has just been relegated to nothingness. He has given up 2 runs in 3 innings in this one, and Dennis Santana gives you an out of the bullpen. Speaking of bullpens, the Seattle Mariners bullpen has been relatively solid this year, and they get the job done against the Kansas City Royals by a count of 7-1. They were aided by the fact that Logan Gilbert gave a great start, giving up 1 run over the course of 7 innings. Josh Smith, Yohan Ramirez were both able to give you a scoreless inning, and then you wind up getting a trio of home runs for the Seattle Mariners as Mitch Haniger gets his 34th home run season, Jared Kelenic his 13th, and Jake Bauers his 4th. As for Mr. Bauers, he winds up getting that off of Jackson Court as Court gives up 5 runs over the course of 4 innings. Scott Blewett didn't necessarily blow up because it was already blown. He gives up a 1 run over the course of 2 innings. Kyle Zimmer, 2 scoreless innings, and Tyler Zuber gives you a scoreless 1 as well, but just nothing doing for the Kansas City Royals, who, outside of Salvador Perez, they haven't necessarily been able to get the deep ball going. The LA Dodgers, they have had the deep ball going, and they played just their 8th over in their last 32 games. They take down the Cincinnati Reds by a count of 8-5. It's Clayton Kershaw. Good start in this one. Goes 5 innings, gives up 1 run. Second start off the injured list, he has given up 1 run apiece in them. Tony Gonsolin came out of the bullpen, didn't necessarily look so great, giving up 3 runs in 2 1/3 innings, including a homer, and then Kenley Jansen would give up a home run of his own going deep for the Cincinnati Reds off of Jansen. Mr. Joey Votto, his 31st home run season, and then you wind up getting the first home run, I think, of the career of TJ Friedel. He might have gotten one if he wound up getting called up earlier, but that was his first. As for the Reds, well, it wasn't necessarily the pitching performance that they were looking for out of Wade Miley. He was not having a party out there in Cincinnati, giving up 6 runs over the course of 3 innings, including not 1, not 2, but 3 home runs. Going deep for the LA Dodgers in this one, Mr. Corey Seager, his 10th home run season. Will Smith gets jiggy with it with his 25th home run season. And then Gavin Lux, his 7th. As then from there, Tony Santillan, 2 scoreless innings. Justin Wilson, Art Warren, Amir Garrett, I'll give you a scoreless inning. And then Jeff Hoffman gives up 2 runs in an inning, but damage had already been done. There was no damage done to the Detroit Tigers, though. 2-0, they take down the Tampa Bay Rays as Willie Peralta. How about the year this guy has had? A 32-year-old that looked like he was done. 7 scoreless innings. He's now got a 3.02 ERA. He has certainly played his way into being a starter for someone next year. Derek Collin was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen, and then Jason Foley winds up polishing off the 8th inning, and Kyle Funkhauser gives you the save with a scoreless 9th as both runs for the Tigers come off of solo home runs off of Shane McClanahan, and Eric Costa was able to get his 22nd home run season, and then Nick Anderson winds up giving up Dustin Garneau's 6th home run season for the Rays. I mean, Shane McClanahan, he wound up giving up 1 run over the course of 5 innings, a little bit of a tough luck loser there. Pete Fairbanks, JP Fireeyes, Adam Conley give you a scoreless inning, and then Anderson gives up that solo home run in his inning, but for the Rays, just absolutely nothing generated on offense in this one. For a team that wound up coming into the weekend as the top offense in all of baseball, these 2 teams are not at the top of the MLB's offensive list, but they were able to put up some runs, 6-5. The Miami Marlins wind up being able to get the job done in 10 innings. As for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Max Kranick, not great, not terrible, gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings. Then from there, Anthony Banda, Nick Mears, Shelby Miller, I'll give you a scoreless inning, but then Chris Strain gives up a run in an inning, and then Chad Kuhl in the 10th inning does not get a single out, giving up 2 runs, one of which was earned as it was a walk-off winner for the Miami Marlins, as Lewin Diaz winds up getting his 6th home run season. that was how the team was able to get it done there. As for Sandy Alcantara, a solid start. He gives up 2 runs, just one of which was earned, as he wound up committing a pair of errors in this one. Those should be credited to him. That's a good discussion for another day, though. Anthony Bender, Richard Blyer both give you a scoreless inning, but then Dylan Floro, he winds up giving up a home run of his own, giving up 2 runs in total, as Hoy Park was able to get a home run, his 3rd of the campaign in the 9th inning, to be able to extend things, and then Stephen O'Kurt gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning. So a little bit of a interesting ordeal there if you wind up having the under, but certainly the Miami Marlins able to get it done. The Astros get it done, but not on the run line. 7-6. They wind up taking down the Arizona Diamondbacks thanks to a big comeback in the 8th inning in which they were able to put up a 3 spot. For Zach Gallen, he gives up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings, including giving up a home run going deep off of him. That would be Mr. Carlos Correa for his 24th home run season. And then this guy, all of a sudden, has been able to give you something. Jose Siri was able to get his 3rd home run of the campaign, as you wound up having out of the bullpen Brandon Sittinger give up a pair of bombs, one of those to Mr. Siri, and the other one winds up being credited to Chance McCormick, his 13th home run season, as for Mr. Sittinger, gives up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning. You wind up having a combined inning from Noe Ramirez and Luis Frias, and then a pair of outs out of Sean Poppin out of the bullpen. But for the Houston Astros, not necessarily what you were hoping for from Zach Greinke. He has looked very shaky recently, giving up 5 runs over the course of 4 innings, and this is a man that ever since the latter part of August has now given up 5+ runs in each out of his last 3 starts, so that's an issue. From there, you wind up having Ryan Presley get a scoreless inning for the save, and Peter Solomon in long relief gives up just 1 run over the course of 4 innings, so that was encouraging. What else is encouraging is the Boston Red Sox being able to layer wins together. 8-6, they wind up taking down the poopy Baltimore Orioles, as well, Alexander Wells, this was not done well. Gives up 5 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a bomb going deep for the Boston Red Sox. That'd be J.D. Martinez, his 27th home run season for Nathan Eovaldi. Not necessarily his best start, giving up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, and then Garrett Woodlock gives up a run in his inning. Kazu Sadamoda winds up giving up 2 runs in an inning, but Enzo Robles along with Garrett Richards both give you a scoreless inning to be able to complete things. And then for the Orioles bullpen, it was another rough day, as Connor Green this time wound up giving it up 3 runs in 1/3 of an inning. Cole Sulzer gave you an out of the bullpen, and Dylan Tate gives you 4 outs out of the bullpen, and you get a scoreless inning out of Eric Hanel. But man, this is an Orioles bullpen that they are dead last in the big leagues with regards to ERA for the year. Over the last 30 days, it hovers right around 7. It just is a bad situation that keeps getting worse. The Chicago Cubs situation is bad, but it did not wind up getting worse on Sunday, as they take down the Milwaukee Brewers by a count of 6-4. For the Cubs, you were able to get a pair of home runs in this one. Patrick Wisdom, his 27th home run of the season, and then you wind up having the first home run in the career of Trace Thompson. That was very interesting, as Thompson, I believe, wound up coming up with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it's not his first career home run, as he's had a couple tours of duty, but his first of the season is the correct phrasing for it, as Eric Lauer wound up giving up one of those home runs, but gave up just 1 run over the course of 5 1/3 innings, and then a Brewers bullpen that has been highly reliable this year just wound up unraveling. Brad Boxberger gives up 3 runs without getting it out. Jandel Gustave winds up giving up 2 runs in his inning of work. Miguel Sanchez along Jay Cousins both give you a scoreless inning, and Hunter Strickland a pair of outs out of the bullpen. But for the Brewers, they were without Willie Adames in this one. They wind up stranding 11 men on base, as Keegan Thompson winds up being pretty much the opener in this one, 2 scoreless innings, and then Adrian Sampson as a bulk guy gives up 2 runs over the course of 4 innings. But Adam Morgan along with Cody Hoyer both give you a scoreless inning. Rowan Wick gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning, but Michael Rucker was able to give you an out of the bullpen to be able to close things out. The Yankees got closed out in grand fashion on Sunday, losing to the Cleveland Indians by a count of 11-1. For the Indians, pair of home runs in this one. Jose Ramirez, his 35th home run season, that comes off of Garrett Cole, and Cole serves one up to Roberto Perez for his 7th home run season for Cole. Just not a good showing. Since coming off the COVID IL, he had not given up as many runs as he wound up giving up on Sunday, giving up a 7th spot in 5 1/3 innings, as ever since he wound up coming off of the COVID injured list, I think that he had given up a grand total of 6 total runs in 6 starts, so that no doubt was not very good. What was very good for the Cleveland Indians, though, that would be their pitching, as they wind up getting a good performance out of Eli Morgan, giving up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. That 1 run was a solo home run for Gio Urshela, his 13th home run season, but then from there, bullpen goes to work, and Sam Entages, Trevor Stephen, Blake Parker all give you a scoreless inning. For the New York Yankees, you wind up having Clark Schmidt come in, gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in his 2 innings, and Lucas Luque an unearned run, as the team was hurt by a pair of errors by Anthony Rizzo and DJ Turn It Up LeMahieu. And for the Colorado Rockies, absolutely nothing doing on offense for them, as they wind up losing to the Washington Nationals by a count of 3-0. 55 Shades of John Gray. Well, he goes 4 innings, and he gives up 2 runs, including a homer, going deep for the Washington Nationals. How about Mr. Juan Soto? 26th home run season, nearly a 460 on base this year, by the way. From there, Lucas Gilbreth and Ashton Gadu combined for 2 innings. They give up a run in total. Tyler Kinley along Jordan Sheffield, they both give you a scoreless inning. And for the Washington Nationals, Paulo Espinal, a great start. He winds going 5 2/3 innings, not allowing a run. Austin Voth was able to give you an out of the bullpen. You even wound up having Kyle Finnegan and Tanner Rainey both give you a scoreless inning, and then Mason Thompson, Andres Machado, both combined for a scoreless inning. And then the Minnesota Twins went on the road. They were not able to defeat the Toronto Blue Jays, was just in Minnesota, and, well, they went north of the border with an L, with a 5-3 final for the Blue Jays being able to get it done. But Ben Rotfit was able to get his third home run of the season. That comes off of one. Jose Barrios, the former Minnesota Twin, winds up giving up 3 runs in total over the course of 6 2/3 innings, including that homer. But Trevor Richards, for outside the bullpen, Jordan Romano was able to close things out. And Boba Shed, in the first inning off of Luke Farrell, who was the opener, gets his 26th home run season for Farrell. He gives up 5 runs as the opener in this one. And then from there, Nick Vincent, Juan Minaya, Danny Colombe all give you 2 scoreless innings apiece. And Gale Theobar gives up nothing in his inning. So the opener gives up 5 runs, and then everyone else at bulk winds up giving up nothing. That is just absolutely insane. What else is absolutely insane is just what we've all been seeing in Major League Baseball in general so far this year. You still have a lead overall for the season in which the under is a little bit ahead of the over, but it certainly has gotten a little bit closer, as in the last 7 days we have seen a couple more overs. As for the season, 1,067 unders and 1,052 overs, so about 50.4% of games are going under the total. Favorites in this time span, 1,314 and 894, so hitting at a rate of 59.5% overall for the year. Home teams are starting to dry up a little bit. They're winning at a rate of about 53.9%, 1,202 to 1,028. And then, as I was alluding to, over the last 7 days, things have been a little bit better when it comes to the over, as the over is hitting at a rate of 51.2%, 42 overs and 40 unders. Meanwhile, if you're looking at favorites, they have been able to do a very solid job recently. 56 and 35 in the last 7 days, so that's 61.5%. Home teams just 44 and 48, so a losing record on that front. If you're looking over the last 3 days, home teams in general just have been doing bad. 195 and 205, so home teams are winning less than 50% of the time. Favorites over the last 3 days, 233 and 161, hitting at a rate of about 59.1%, and unders have been hitting about 52% of the time the last 3 days at 193 and 179. So that's what we're all seeing in Major League Baseball trend-wise, and that's what we wound up seeing from Major League Baseball on Sunday. Now let's take a look at these crazy MLB postseason races with our good friend out there in the great city of Seattle. Curtis Rogers does tremendous pre- and post-game work for the Seattle Mariners with 710 ESPN. Also does the Seattle Sports Night and Seattle Sports Saturday podcast. You're able to find those wherever you get this podcast. He's going to be joining me next right here on the Baseball Betting Podcast with myself, Greg Peterson.
Greg is calling in a pinch hitter from the Overtime Network hotline.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Podcast. Myself, Greg Peterson. Always a pleasure to have on this guest, as he does a terrific job doing pre- and post-game work with the Seattle Mariners over there at 710 ESPN. He also does some work with scoreboard updates, what have you, with the Seattle Seahawks. That'll probably be kicking up in full swing once we know whether or not the Mariners are going to be making the postseason or not. Something I don't think we were going to be talking about in mid-September, but this man does a terrific work with Sub-10 ESPN with regards to Mondays through Fridays as well, helping out with their afternoon staff, and a man that you're able to follow on Twitter at A Kid from Kent altogether. Also does the Seattle Sports Night and Seattle Sports Saturday podcast, which you're able to catch those podcasts wherever you get this one. And Curtis, great to have you aboard. Thank you.
Greg, always a pleasure to be on with you, and always a pleasure to be talking pennant race in baseball, whether it be divisionals or the wild card. And the wild card chase heating up in both leagues, certainly in the American League, as wide open as it can possibly be this late into the season. So many possibilities await us here in both wild card chases. Very much looking forward to these last couple weeks of the baseball season.
It's hard to believe that the Seattle Mariners are a half a game further out of the second spot in the American League wild card, as the San Diego Padres are for the second spot in the National League wild card. It's been absolutely insane. The Mariners able to get the job done on Sunday by a count of 7-1, and now it gets into must-win mode for the Seattle Mariners, but they do have a couple games against the LA Angels. If they're able to avoid Shohei Ohtani for those games, that'll bode very well for them, because Shohei Ohtani certainly has been the best pitcher of the Angels so far this year. But when you take a look at the Mariners, it's going to be they and the Oakland A's sort of in a do-or-die scenario. I think that what would be worse for both of these teams, because the A's are 2 games out of that second wild card spot as well, is for them to be able to split essentially these next 2 series, because if they do, neither team is going to be making the postseason. So it's really put up or shut up time for both the A's and the Mariners, who wind up opening up this series this week.
It really is. And you look at the A's right now, winners of 5 straight after Sunday's action. I mean, they have been a team that has been obviously in the wild card picture, one of the top 2 teams, but then obviously over the last couple months, they've slipped back to where, the Mariners at one point were ahead of them in the American League wild card race. Now the A's, they're turning it on here at the right time, 5 in a row, and you've got a series against a team that is nipping at your heels right now. I mean, if the Mariners take all 4 games, that's obviously going to end the A's season. And if the A's take all 4 games, that's going to end the Mariners season. I think that's a pretty obvious thing as to what could happen here over the next week, basically, or at least these next 4 weekdays. I look at this matchup. You've got Tyler Anderson, Marco Gonzalez from the Mariners in Games 1 and Game 2. Sean Manaea, Paul Blackburn, Games 1 and Game 2 for Oakland. Those 2 games, I think, could really go either way. An interesting matchup in Game 3, at least on paper, would be Cole Irvin going up against Chris Flexen. Irvin has had his share of struggles against the Mariners this season, and some of them may be a little self-inflicted. He had some comments earlier in the season talking about how I should never be giving up 10 hits in a game to a team like that. The Mariners took those words, blew them up on some poster board, hung it up in their locker room the next time out. They saw Cole Irvin, and they chased him the 3rd inning after he gave up 4 runs against them. The very next start after that, they chased him again. So, something to watch for in that 3rd game of the series on Wednesday. And then in the final game of the series, Yusei Kikuchi is scheduled to make that start. He has been pretty brutal ever since the All-Star game. His last start just completely non-competitive on Saturday against the Royals, the only loss in that series for the Mariners. Kikuchi pitching for his future right now. There's a potential 4-year, $66 million team option that the Mariners could pick up. I don't think that happens. Kikuchi has a 1-year player option he can exercise if the Mariners turn down that team option. I think that's much more realistic, but I mean, this is a guy who's pitching for his future in Major League Baseball right now, and boy, oh boy, he is not doing a very good job of it.
No, not at all. It has been tough for Yusei Kikuchi, as we do have Curtis Rogers of 710 ESPN and Seattle Mariners spring postgame work joining me on the podcast. And what I think is really going to be the intriguing one is the game that you just talked about on Wednesday between Chris Flexen and Cole Irvin, because you point out the struggles that Irvin has had, and they have been very prolific recently, giving up 3+ runs in 7 out of his last 10 starts. But on the other end for Chris Flexen, I think he's given up now 3 runs or fewer in 8 out of his last 9 road starts. It was at a point earlier in the year in which he was tremendous at home. He wasn't so good on the road. He's really been able to rectify these road woes, and that's a big reason why, in my opinion, the Mariners are still in this, because I don't think anyone saw Chris Flexen doing what he's doing so far this year. Posting up a 3.66 ERA overall with a 12-6 record. He's been nothing short of magnificent since coming over from Korea.
He's been the most consistent starter the Mariners have, and it's been just an absolute godsend for the Mariners rotation to have somebody like him out there. And one thing that really has helped him this season and sort of logged the number of innings that he has is a year ago, pitching in Korea, he pitched the most innings of any pitcher in the world because the KBO, they had a full season a year ago. So Chris Flexen pitched a full workload, whereas every pitcher here in America obviously only pitched 60 games worth of a season. So Flexen has not had any sort of issues pitching this deep into the year. He's up to 162 innings, 28 starts, and like you said, 12-6. And looking at that away win-loss record, he's 6-1 on the road, 4.32 ERA. Most of that ERA is ballooned by the fact that he had that one miserable outing back in May against the Padres, where I believe he gave up 7 or 8 runs in about an inning's worth of work. It's not necessarily the same Chris Flexen that we thought we had at the beginning of the year, where it was a guy that was great at T-Mobile Park, but anywhere away from T-Mobile Park, you kind of had to, keep your fingers crossed and, watch with one eye closed. But now he's really righted that ship and has been just a remarkable addition to this Mariners rotation and somebody that's going to be a piece going forward. He's signed very favorably over the next couple of years. I think he's only going to make about $8 million over the next 2 seasons. So, that's a huge, huge bargain, especially if you're going to get quality starting pitching. It's going to get you in your 200 innings.
Yep, absolutely. To be able to get Chris Flexen as at the price that the Mariners have has been absolutely amazing. And speaking of absolutely amazing, it seems like most of these divisional races have wrapped up aside from the NL West, and we'll get into that in a minute. But you take a look at the Astros, 6 games up on the Oakland A's, 8 games up on the Seattle Mariners. That thing is done. The Tampa Bay Rays are not going to be relinquishing their 6.5 game lead to the Boston Red Sox. Then the Cleveland Indians being 11 games back of the Chicago White Sox. That one is pretty much sewed up as well. But when I take a look at the American League, I still, every single time I look at it, I just still keep going to the Tampa Bay Rays and thinking that they're the team that's going to be able to come out and they're going to be able to represent the American League in the World Series. Shane Baz is going to be making his MLB debut on Monday against Cy Young hopeful Robbie Ray of the Toronto Blue Jays. And I just take a look at this Rays team, man. They've actually dealt with a bunch of injuries in the bullpen, but now they've got Nick Anderson back off the injured list. JP Fireeyes and Pete Fairbanks have been banged up. They're good to go as well. And I take a look at the Rays. They're getting healthy at the right time, and even when they were unhealthy, they were getting wins. I just still continue to think that this is a team to beat in this league.
Well, and for them to have the record that they have, 92 wins, only 58 losses, a .613 win percentage in the division that they're in, when most of the games that they're playing this year are against the Red Sox, against the Blue Jays, against the Yankees, and obviously the Orioles, bringing up the rear there, as they have done for the last 4 or 5 years. But looking at the Rays and how they have been able to withstand so many games against such great competition this year, I mean, you can only look at this team and say, yeah, this is the most dangerous team in the American League right now. And I think they're a team that is obviously battle-tested. Last year, they made it all the way to the World Series. They've got plenty of experience. They've got a manager in Kevin Cash who his controversial decision last year in the World Series to pull Blake Snell when he did, that's always going to be attached to Kevin Cash, the manager, which is unfortunate because he is a really good manager, and most of the time his moves, while some may be unorthodox, I remember I was doing pre and post for a couple of years ago. I think Ryan Yarbrough had a complete game shutout going against the Mariners, and he pulled him after 8 2/3 innings because he looked at the matchup and was like, I don't like this. And just, head-scratching stuff like that. But you know what? He presses the button right more often than not. You've got a super-duper star in the making in Wander Franco. And then you've also got, just tremendous pieces already on that roster. The addition of Nelson Cruz has been incredible. I look at this Rays team right now, and I have a hard time picking against them as, possible American League champion here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the National League has actually become a little bit more open just because even though the LA Dodgers just continue to win, so do the San Francisco Giants, as we do have Curtis Rogers of 710 ESPN Seattle Mariners pre- and post-game work joining me on the podcast, and it's just absolutely insane. You've got the Giants going into Monday at 97-53 and the Dodgers at 96-54. In a lot of sports books out here in Las Vegas, the win total of the LA Dodgers was set at 1 or 2.5, which everyone thought was absolutely insane. I don't think anyone in their right mind thought that the Dodgers might be able to exceed that win total and not win the division. And if they were going to, it was going to be the Padres, who I alluded to a little bit earlier. 20.5 games out of the division at this point are the Padres. And I just take a look at this National League picture. I do think that the Giants and the Dodgers, that's going to be an epic battle. And at the same time, the one team that I think could really be a challenger to them is the Milwaukee Brewers, who have 49-26. If that were a home record, that'd be tied for the second best home record in all of baseball with how good they played away from Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's just going to be so insane looking at this National League playoff picture because whoever wins the National League wildcard game will face the winner of the National League West. So there's a potential in that first round of having the Dodgers and Giants face off whichever team wins that wildcard round matchup. I mean, we're all assuming that the Giants or Dodgers will win that wildcard matchup. Now, crazier things have happened, but I'm looking forward to that first round matchup. It's a bummer that we couldn't get that matchup in the National League Championship Series, but you mentioned the Brewers and just how good they have been all season long. I look at them and I look at their rotation. It is built for the playoffs. Corbin Burns has been insane this year. Brandon Woodruff has been incredible as well. You've got Freddie Peralta, and then that bullpen, with guys like Josh Hader, who is, obviously one of the biggest name closers in all of baseball. Devin Williams has improved his game as the season has gone along here. He's sort of recaptured that form that made him one of the most prized possessions in baseball after the 2020 season. So I look at this Brewers team, I would not be stunned if they're able to maneuver their way to at least the National League Championship Series, because whoever wins the National League East, I'm not really fretting a whole lot. The Braves have that slim 1.5 game lead. They seem to be the one team that has sort of shown at least some kind of fight within them. The Phillies, I mean, hey, if Bryce Harper can turn it on here, and he's been incredible this season, he's been an MVP candidate for sure. If they make it to the playoffs, I think Bryce Harper has a very good shot at winning MVP. Harper has kind of gone from overhyped to overrated to now underhyped and underrated. It's wild how somebody as great as him can go through that whole cycle. And looking at the season that he's had, it almost feels like we're not talking about it enough. If he can get the Phillies to the playoffs, I would have a hard time voting against him for National League MVP. But, I mean, you look at this National League race, to me, I think it's going to be the Brewers and whoever is the top team out there in the National League West. I think that's going to be a team to watch, in the National League Championship Series. And then another team to keep an eye on is the team that is leading that wild card race in the National League. That's the Cardinals, winners of 8 straight. We've kind of talked about them on this podcast as a team to watch out for, and sure enough, they have played very well over the last couple of weeks. One guy who has been incredible is Tyler O'Neill, the outfielder for them. He has just been a tremendous presence in that lineup, mashing home runs left and right. The big Canadian. Dad was like a former Mr. Olympia bodybuilder, former Mr. Canada or something like that. Makes sense when you see this guy hit home runs. There's just so many teams to like in that National League. If I had to pick one right now, it's chalky for sure, but I would say the Dodgers. But man, that Brewers team, they're kind of screaming my name right now. I think I might actually have to go with the Brewers.
The reason why I would look at the Brewers as well is just because even though the Dodgers, who have the second best bullpen ERA ever since the All-Star break, you take a look at some of the names. They are some of the unfamiliar guys. Someone like a Phil Bickford, Alex Vesia, these guys have been great for them. You just never know about Kenley Jansen, though, and with the Brewers, Devin Williams, Josh Hader, in my opinion, the best 1-2 puncher you're going to find in baseball in the 8th and 9th innings. They've been able to get it from guys like Jake Cousins. I realize that Brad Boxberger on Sunday looked very shaky, but at the same time, I take a look at all of them. But the one caveat I have with the Milwaukee Brewers is that they need Willie Adames back. This is someone that we both know very well because he spent some time with the Seattle Mariners, obviously the Tampa Bay Rays as well. With him in the fold, this Milwaukee Brewers offense is a top team in baseball when it comes to being able to put up runs right around 5 per contest. Without him in the fold, the Brewers' run production drops by more than a run per game, and that is something that I feel like goes under the radar because we talk about all these National League MVP candidates, and certainly Willie Adames is not going to be winning it, but if he were to have played a full season, I feel like Adames might have the numbers to be up there.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, you look at what he has added to that Brewers team. They've really kind of taken off ever since they made that trade, which I think a lot of people, especially given Adames' age, were kind of surprised by, with the Rays being that kind of team. And it's like, well, you know what? The Rays have a guy named Wander Franco waiting in the wings. Willie Adames is a good player. You know what you do with good players when you've got even better players waiting around? You trade him, and the Rays have never been afraid to make that kind of move. But Adames has been incredible this season. I think, what is it? His OPS over 900 since coming over. You could probably make the argument that he's been their best player offensively, and especially in a season where they have severely lacked punch from guys like Christian Yelich, Yelich only 8 home runs this season, an OPS of just 733. Just a stunning turn his career has taken with the bat. I think he was a prime bounce back candidate next year, but man, just to see somebody who was at one point probably the second best player in baseball not even more than 2 seasons ago, where he's at now, if he can get any kind of production that is scratching the surface of what he once was, that Brewers team goes from great right now to potential World Series champions.
I agree with you. I do think that is so essential for the Milwaukee Brewers. And what else is essential? Getting great guests on this podcast. And Curtis, you deliver on that every single time. You're doing a great job over there in the great city of Seattle for 710 ESPN. Mainly right now you're doing Seattle Mariners pre- and post-game work, but I know you do some work with the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Sports Night, Seattle Sports Saturday podcast as well. List goes on and on. You check all the boxes. So love to get people at home know they're able to follow you on social media and just everything that you've got going on in general.
Yeah, we've got plenty going on over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, that huge Mariners series we talked about with the Oakland A's. We'll have plenty of reaction with that. And yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at @AKidFromKent, same as Instagram. Always a pleasure speaking with you, Greg. I look forward to the next time we talk.
Absolutely. Hopefully the next time we talk, we're talking about the Seattle Mariners potentially being in the postseason. How insane would that be? Certainly going to be an interesting next few weeks out there in the American League West and just in these postseason races in general. And Curtis is going to be following it every step of the way. So big thanks to Curtis Rogers of 710 ESPN in Seattle for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. Coming up next, they give you a sign total on every game on the betting board for this Monday and a little something like call Touch 'em All.
Welcome back to the Baseball Betting Podcast with Greg Peterson as we're off to a quality start, and now it's time to walk it off in a grand fashion.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Podcast. Myself, Greg Peterson, and we actually are in lovely Las Vegas, not in parts unknown Minnesota or Wisconsin. We're not in some other random funky state. We're back in lovely Las Vegas. And we are back after having an absolutely amazing chat with Curtis Rogers. Does a great job doing pre- and post-game work with the Seattle Mariners over there at 710 ESPN. Always great to get him aboard, and always great to have you aboard. So let's try to make some money today. Gonna give you guys a sign and total on every game on the betting board for this Monday, and a little something like call Touch 'em All.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch 'em all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter feed at gunit_81, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go National League games first, then the American League games, and any interleague games are going to be at the bottom, I will say. We have a doubleheader between the Indians and the Royals. I will be doing both of those games all together since one game is off the board to start with, so there is that, and let's start with that first National League game. 901, 902 on the betting board. The Pittsburgh Pirates walk the plank to Cincinnati. Yes, we are on to Cincinnati to play against the Cincinnati Reds. Vladimir Gutierrez going to be going for the Reds. Dylan Peters is going to be on the bump for the Buccos. Buccos are finding themselves in between plus 158 and plus 166 underdogs. Meanwhile, if you're looking at the Red Legs, it's anywhere between minus 172 and minus 195. 9 is your total. Over is anywhere between minus 110 and minus 120. Under is anywhere between even and minus 110. And for Mr. Peters, but a small sample size from this year. Hasn't been great, hasn't been terrible. 1-2 record, 2.66 ERA. Has really been able to do a good job of keeping the ball in the yard, giving up just one home run in 23 2/3 innings, giving up right around 3 walks per 9 innings, and on the road a $1.80 ERA, but that's across 5 innings, so it's really a Dre's out situation when he was with the Angels last few years. Wasn't necessarily great, so I do want to see a little bit more, but so far so good this season. And then you take a look at Mr. Gutierrez, and the Reds have not been good recently when he's taken the bump, as they have lost each out of their last 4. And for the Reds in general, it has been a little bit of a bumpy ride for them. You take a look at Mr. Gutierrez, and he's now given up at least 4 runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts. This after he had given up 2 runs or fewer in 6 straight starts. So things are starting to regress on him a little bit, but the good news is this is a Pirates lineup that, let's face it, it's not great. You've got Brian Reynolds hitting about a 295. He's been able to slug out 23 home runs. And for Yoshi Satsugo, he had 7 home runs in the last, I would say, 4 weeks for the team, but he has certainly cooled off a little bit. You've got Hoy Park along with Anthony Alford, Cole Tucker, Kai Tom, Kevin Newman, only at 225 or lower. Jacob Stallings has been able to about a 240, and Wilmer Defoe along with Colin Moran. Both of these guys in the pocket of about a 270 along with Brian Hayes and Ben Gamble between a 248 and a 255. But you've also got a bullpen that is a little bit ravaged by injury right now for the Pirates. They are going to be without David Bernard. They're also going to be without Kyle Crick, which means that it's going to be up to Jason Shreve, Chris Strain, and then a host of others. And for the Reds, bullpen hasn't necessarily been great this year, but Luis Cessa has been able to give you some good innings along with Michael Givens. Michael Lorenzen has been able to do a good job of holding down the fort as well. And the good news for this team is that they are getting a couple guys back healthy. We did wind up seeing Jesse Winker a little bit in that series against the LA Dodgers. He, along with Nick Castellanos, both 25 plus home runs for both of these guys, north of a 360 on base. You're able to throw in there Taylor Stevenson and Jonathan India with a good on base as well. And then you take a look at Eugenio Suarez, only hitting about $175, but he's been able to supply 26 home runs so far this season. Max Schrock hitting above a 300, so you've got a lot of firepower when it comes to this lineup. And Joey Votto wound up getting a pinch hitting appearance yesterday, 31 home runs. He's really been in the top 3 with regards to home runs in the National League ever since the All-Star break, so I do think that this is a good spot for the Cincinnati Cincinnati Reds. As far as the favorite I made them minus 188 on the money line, but if you're looking at the run line, finding them anywhere between even money to a plus 105 was willing to lay more like a minus 110, so taking a shot there also made the total 9.3, so taking the Reds run line along with the total over. 903, 904 on the betting board. The Washington Nationals hit the road to face off against the Miami Marlins. Jesus Luzardo is going to be going for the Fish. Meanwhile, Eric Fetty-Wap is going to be on the bump for the Washington Nationals. The Nationals find themselves anywhere between minus 110 and minus 120 favorites. Meanwhile, if you're taking a look at the Fishies, anywhere between even money and plus 103, with 8.5 being your total. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And for Jesus Luzardo, ever since coming to Miami, he has been a fish out of water, if I can. Because, well, he's got a 6.75 ERA with them. He has given up 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. His walks per 9 rate right around a 5.3. He has just not been good in general. He's actually been a little bit worse on the road, but I mean, either way that you slice it, this man has not been great, as he has given up at least 3 runs in all but 2 of his starts. Eric Fetty-Wap, meanwhile, he has certainly given up the deep ball, given up right around 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, but he's been able to do a okay job of being able to limit the walks, giving up a grand total of 3 walks over the course of his last 5 starts. Now, the problem is he's given up at least 4 runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts as well, so that has certainly been a little bit rocky for him. You take a look at him at home versus on the road, relatively similar numbers, 5.24 road ERA, 4.07 home ERA. He's given up on the road a couple more homers, 11, but also in 12 more innings as compared to his 9 at home in 55 innings. He's won 67 innings on the road. And for the Washington Nationals, Kyle Finnegan has been able to give you a little bit of something out of the bullpen. I do like what I'm seeing out of Ryan Harper as well. And this is a bunch of which you've got a pair of guys with 26 plus home runs in Juan Soto and Josh Bell. And for Bell, hitting right around a 260 for the seam. Meanwhile, Juan Soto hitting a 315 with a 460 on base. Yeah, he's been pretty good. You need a little bit more out of Carter Kieboom, Luis Garcia, Keibert Ruiz. These guys have been hitting between about a 215 to a 230, but Lane Thompson's coming over from the Cardinals, hitting above a 300. Alcides Escobar's hitting at 280, and Yadiel Hernandez more in the neighborhood of about a 275. Then you take a look at the Miami Marlins, and the bullpen's been relatively good for this team. Richard Blyer has a sub-3.5 ERA. Anthony Bender has been able to come in. He's been able to give you some good innings. Even someone like a Steven O'Kurt, his ERA hovers right around 2.15, but with the Miami Marlins, big thing for the team, Jesus Aguilar, who's hitting a 260 with 22 home runs, and team high 93 RBI, has been out of the fold quite a bit the last 2 or so weeks. That has put the offense in a little bit of a bind, as got quite a few guys hitting at 225 or lower, and Eddie Alvarez, Austin Jackson, Joe Panik, Lewin Diaz, Lewis Brinson, has been a little bit of an issue, but Mangolia Sierra has been able to give you a tad bit of something along with Jesus Sanchez. Both of these guys hitting between about a 235 to 245, and for Mr. Sanchez, he has been able to hit 8 home runs over the last 3 days, so he's picking up with the power jazz chisel. He's hitting about a 250, and then Brian De La Cruz hitting a 330 is very beneficial. I do take a look at this spot, and I think that Jesus Luzardo has good stuff. He just needs to work on the command a little bit, and I think that he's going to be able to do a better job against the Washington Nationals team that I just don't know what they're going to be able to get out of Mr. Eric Fetty-Wap. Set this whole north of 9, so going to be taking the over. Set the Marlins as a very, very slight favorite, so go and fish along with that over. 905, 906 on the betting board. The St. Louis Cardinals hit the road to face off against the Milwaukee Brewers. Freddie Peralta is going to be going for the Brew Crew. The Woodford, Jake Woodford, is going to be going for the Cardinals. 8 is your total. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105, with the Brewers getting them anywhere between minus 183 and minus 200. Meanwhile, with the Cards, it's anywhere between plus 168 and plus 180. It's willing to take the Cardinals as long as I was getting a plus 178 or greater. That plus 180 means that we have barely gotten there. With Woodford, he's actually been relatively rock solid in his starts for this bunch. He has given up a grand total of 3 earned runs in his last 3 appearances, one of which was a 5 1/3 inning long relief appearance against the Brewers. Other 2 were starts of 4 innings against the Mets and the Dodgers, and team wanted winning both of those starts, so he's been able to do a little bit of something good for this Cardinals team. And on the road so far this year, a 4.02 ERA. Most of these have been in relief, as he's went just 31 1/3 innings, but giving up 4 home runs in that time span. Not much of a swing and miss guy, but he's been solid. And then for Freddie Peralta, his last start against the Detroit Tigers was more of the Freddie Peralta that you expect. First 2 starts coming off the injured list was a little bit shaky, giving up a grand total of 7 runs in 5 2/3 innings. That last start against the Tigers, 6 scoreless. So you just take a look at him this year, and he's been absolutely mowing guys down. His strikeouts per 9 rate, whenever he's at home, is hovering right around 12, and opponents are getting a $139 off of him. And then you take a look at the St. Louis Cardinals, and they were able to get hot with the bat yesterday because, well, Jake Arrieta sinks, but got a lot of guys in this lineup hitting about a 255-ish to, I would say, more like a 270. You've got just outside of that Harrison Bader and Lars Nootbaar, both hitting right around a 245-ish, but then You've got Tommy Edman along with Nolan Arenado, Dylan Carlson. You were able to chuck in there Yadier Molina. All guys hitting in this fold. And then with Paul Goldschmidt, ever since the beginning of the month of July, this guy's hitting right around 325. I think he's got like 16 home runs in that time span as well. Umando Sosa, he's been able to hit right around a 280-ish along Tyler O'Neill. And for O'Neill, he's been able to supply the boom. 28 home runs so far this year. Nolan Arenado has been able to go deep 32 times. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, this lineup is just different whenever you don't wind up having Willie Adames in there. That has certainly hurt them as he was out of the fold once again yesterday, but you do have a couple guys that have been able to pick up the slack a little bit. Eduardo Escobar, Christian Yelich, Jace Peterson, Pablo Reyes, lying between about a 249 to a 263 with Luis Urias. He's hitting at 250. He's been able to supply 20 home runs. Colton Wong at the top of the fold has been a good leadoff guy all year long. He and Omar Narvaez both hitting right around 280. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, bullpen has been tremendous for this team. Brian Boxberger wound up giving it up yesterday, but you've been able to have some good innings out of Jake Cousins. Devin Williams, Josh Hader both did not wind up getting used up yesterday, so they are both going to be available. So I did take a look at this spot, and I do think that the St. Louis Cardinals should be a relatively sizable underdog, but being able to get that plus 180, I'm going to be taking a shot there. Also wound up saying the solid 88.7. I do think that Woodford is going to be able to do an okay job, but I still think Peralta is seeing some regression after being off the injured list and has some things to work out. So going over along with the Cardinals, 907, 908 on the betting board. The Atlanta Braves hit the road face-off against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Humberto Mejia is going to be going for the D-backs. Meanwhile, you got Huascar Ynoa going for the Atlanta Braves. We saw a line earlier at DraftKings with the Braves at minus 140 and a plus 120 on the Arizona Diamondbacks with a 9.5 total. Under at minus 115 and the over is minus 105. But I think that was before this was a set pitching matchup, as I want to making at the book of Greg Peterson. Huascar Ynoa, minus 178 favorite, will be willing to lay up to about a minus 115 on the run line with the Atlanta Braves and set the solid at 9.4. So 9.5 or higher would be looking at the under. A 9 or lower, I'd be looking over. And when it comes to the Atlanta Braves, they certainly have been able to get a whole lot of firepower out of this lineup. You just take a look up and down today, you're spotting guys with at least 24 home runs all across it. You've got Dansby Swanson, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Freddie Freeman, Ode Soler, Adam Duvall, all in that fold in for Soler. He's been able to slug out like 15 home runs ever since the beginning of the month of July, and he's been able to hit at 275 after hitting right around the Mendoza line prior to coming to the Atlanta Braves. Got a pair of guys in Austin Riley and Freddie Freeman, both hitting above a 295. Albies along Dansby Swanson, both hitting about a 252 or 255, so highly reliable lineup there. Then you've got an Arizona Diamondbacks bunch in which you don't have a single guy that's giving you north of 12 home runs. Now, you got a lot of guys with between 11, 12 home runs in Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, Josh Rojas, Dalton Varsho, Carson Kelly, Pavin Smith, and a lot of these guys have been hitting right in that pocket of about a 260 to a 268, and then you've got Mr. Marte of the Marte Parte hitting at 320, but you've got a really rough lineup out there to say the least. You're relying upon guys like Andrew Young and company to be able to give you at-bats, and it's just not going well for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The bullpen is a mess. Jake Faria along Taylor Widener. Failed starters are coming out of the bullpen right now. Brett DeGeis has a north of 70 ERA. Tyler Clippard is ancient, and then you take a look at the Atlanta Braves, and you've had this bullpen be in the top 6 with regards to ERA ever since the All-Star break. Richard Rodriguez, Luke Jackson, these guys have been money for you all season. Tyler Madzik ever since the beginning of the month of July, right around a 2 ERA. Even Jacob Webb has right around 3 ERA. He's been able to step up with a couple of the guys that you were relying upon coming into the year, like a Will Smith, even AJ Minter, being shaky all season long. So I do take a look at this spot, and I do think that Mr. Ynoa, you know what, I think he's going to be able to give you a good start. He has been able to do a good job of being able to limit damage, as he's given up more than 3 runs just twice so far this year. When it comes to home runs per 9 rate, give it up right around 1.3s, but his strikeouts per 9, that's right around 10.5. And then you take a look at Mr. Humberto Mejia. First time he's going to be making a start since August. In his last start, wound up giving up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings against the Philadelphia Phillies. For his career, he has given up 5 home runs in 21 innings, so that has not necessarily been too terrific. So setting the Braves is right around a minus 178-ish favorite. And like I said, 9 or lower, going to be taking a look at the over 9.5 or higher to the under. We've got a pair of games for this one. 909, 910 on the betting board. It's going to be game 1 of the Kansas City Royals and Cleveland Indians series, with the Indians being the home team. For game 1, we do have numbers on this one, as it's going to be Tristan McKenzie going for the Indians. Meanwhile, Brady Singer is on the bump for the Royals at DraftKings. finding the Indians at minus 115, a minus 105 on the Royals with a total of 7. Over is minus 120, and the under is even. 917, 918. According to ESPN, this is going to be game 2 of that doubleheader. It's going to be Juan Carlos Hernandez going for the Royals and Logan Allen going for the Indians. I have no numbers anywhere on this game, but at the book of Greg Peterson, Hernandez would be a minus 140 favorite for the Royals against Logan Allen with a total of 7.1. So 7 or lower, I'd be taking a look at the over 7.5 or higher. I'd be taking a look at the under, and it's pretty much the exact opposite for game 1 with the Indians against the Royals. Willing to lay up to a minus 138 with Tristan McKenzie, and a 6 or lower, going to be taking a look at the over. 6.5 or higher, going to be taking a look at the under. So you certainly have a tale of 2 different games there. As for Brady Singer, what I like about him is the fact that he's limited to hard contact. He's still given up just 1 home run at home so far this year. Certainly has not been the case on the road, as he's got a 5.05 ERA, allowing 13 bombs in 51 2/3 innings when he's away from Kansas City. But opponents starting at 258 off of him on the road compared to a 296 at home. So he has been able to do a little bit of something there. But you just take a look at Tristan McKenzie, and he has given up a grand total of 4 runs over the course of his last 5 starts. He has been absolutely masterful. The last time he wound up giving up a home run, you have to go back quite a ways, all the way back to August 10th. So he has been white out with that regard. The Cleveland Indians are 4-1 in his last 5 starts. And if you're looking overall, I believe that the team is now something like 7-4 in his last 11. So he's been able to do a nice job there. This is a man that has given up 2 runs or fewer, and now 7 out of his last 10 starts as well. So he's really been able to mow them down. And you got a Kansas City Royals team in which they are going to be able to back up Singer with one guy that is just absolutely crushing. That'd be Salvador Perez. How about for him? 45 home runs, north of 100 RBI. He, Whit Merrifield, Andrew Benintendi, Adalberto Mondesi, along with Mr. Isbell, owing between about a 264 to a 280. Hanser Alberto is in that fold as well. Nicky Lopez hitting a 300 for the team. Michael A. Taylor has been able to about a 250. Got a couple guys that they do need to pick it up, like a Hunter Dozier, Carlos Santana, Sebastian Rivero, hitting a 225 or lower, but certainly have been able to get some results there. Then for the Cleveland Indians, pair of guys with 30 plus home runs hitting between about a 255 to a 260 in Franmil Reyes, along with Jose Ramirez. You've been able to get something out of Harold Ramirez as well. He's now hitting right around a 270 for the team, along with Miles Straw. Now you need Yu Chang, Andres Jimenez, Ernie Clement, Roberto Perez, along with Austin Edges. These guys pick it up. They're hitting a 225 or lower, but you have been able to get a little bit of production as well out of Amid Rosario when he's out there. Got the day off yesterday, but he's hitting right around 280. So I do take a look at this spot, and I do think that McKenzie going to be able to do a great job in game 1. So I'm going to be looking at the Indians and an under in that spot according to those DraftKings lines. And then with 917, 918 for Logan Allen, he has just been all over the place this season. This is a man that posted up an ERA of 7.11 because he's always open to giving up runs. He's giving up an average of about 2.4 home runs per 9 innings, 3.3 walks per 9, not necessarily getting a lot of swings and misses, 6 strikeouts per 9. And then with Carlos Hernandez, he wound up being thrown off kilter a little bit with regards to his schedule. Team had won 7 out of his last 8 starts. He then gives up 7 runs in 4 innings when he winds up having his start, push up against the Oakland A's, being on a little bit more normal rest. I think we are going to be able to see him return to form, because prior to that, he had given up 2 runs or fewer in all but 2 out of his pitching appearances ever since the beginning of the month of June. And that was a streak of, I believe, like 18 pitching appearances. So certainly has been able to do the job there. And then when it comes to both of these bullpens, they're a little bit underrated for the Royals ever since the All-Star break. A top 7 bullpen with regards to ERA. Joel Payampas has not necessarily been great, but Josh Seymour, Domingo Tapia, they've been able to come through for you. Jake Brents, Scott Barlow, they've been able to give you good innings. And for the Cleveland Indians, Emmanuel Clase has been lights out for this team. You've had a couple guys like John Carlos Peña not necessarily do the job. Trevor Seaman, he's up and down, but I do like what I'm seeing out of Brian Shaw. Now, they are still without Nick Sandlin due to injury. Blake Parker, it looks like, is dealing with a little bit of something as well, but he might be available in this game as well. So I do take a look at this spot, and I'm certainly going to be laying it with McKenzie and taking that total under in the 909, 910 start. And then when it comes to 917, 918, a game that is presently off the board, willing to lay up to a minus 140 with the Royals. And like I said, 7 or lower, taking a look at the over 7.5 or higher to the under. We move on to game number 911, 912 on the betting board. You've got the Chicago White Sox at the road face-off against the Detroit Tigers. Matt Manning going to be going for the Tigres. Meanwhile, Carlos Rodon is going to be going for the White Sox. The White Sox find themselves anywhere between minus 210 and minus 225. Meanwhile, if you're looking at the Tigres, you're going to be getting them between plus 185 and plus 195. 9 is your total. Under is anywhere between minus 110 and minus 115. Over is anywhere between a minus 105 and a minus 110. And for Mr. Carlos Rodon, it certainly has been a solid year for him. He deserves to be one of the front runners in the Cy Young Award race. Now, with all the time that he's missed, he's probably knocked himself out, but giving up less than a home run per 9 innings, giving up right around 2.5 walks per 9 9. His strikeouts per 9 rate, that is hovering right around at 12ish. He has been that good, and on the road actually has a little bit of a better ERA than he does at home. 2.32 road ERA, 2.45 home ERA. Has given him 9 home runs in 66 innings on the road, but opponents are hitting just a 2.07 off of him. Then you take a look at Mr. Menning, and he's been much better at home than he has been on the road. A 4.24 ERA in Detroit, a 7.67 ERA on the road. He has given up just 4 home runs in 40 and a third innings when he's at home. Meanwhile, 5 bombs in 31 and 2/3 innings on the road, and opponents are getting about 50 points less off of him whenever he's at home as well. You take a look at this Detroit Tigers offense, and things seem to be regressing a little bit for the team, but you do have Eric Haas along with Robbie Grossman and Jonathan Scope, all giving you between 21 and 23 home runs so far this season, but for Scope, like 5 home runs ever since the All-Star break. He has been able to hit 275 along Jameer Candelario, though you need a little bit more out of guys like Willie Castro, Nico Goodrum, Zach Short. These guys are hitting at 225 or lower, but Robbie Grossman right around a 350 on base for the team. Miguel Cabrera is hitting at 260 along with Dustin Garneau, Akil Baddoo, and Harold Castro is hitting at 280 himself. And for the Detroit Tigers, the bullpen has been very good. Kyle Funkhauser has really brought the funk for the most part this season. I've been pleasantly surprised by Michael Fulmer, the way that he's been able to come out of the bullpen. Gregory Soto has been lights out as well. And then you take a look at the White Sox, and they do seem to be finding their watermark at this point. Liam Hendricks, Craig Kimbrell, both of these guys have been looking much more solid recently. Jose Ruiz, along with Ryan Tepera, a pair of guys I like. And then you've got Tim Anderson at the top of the fold when it comes to lineup, hitting a 300 for the team. Got a lot of guys hitting between, I would say, about a 250 to a 265. Jose Abreu, Yohan Moncada, Leury Garcia. You're able to throw in there Rami Gonzalez, a little bit of a newer guy for this team as well. And then when it comes to Mr. Jose Abreu, he has been able to supply 113 RBI going into yesterday with 29 home runs. So he's been able to do a great job. Yasmani Grandal is averaging about a home run every 8 at bats since coming off the injured list. It's absolutely insane. 414 on base from only a 235 batting average, but that keeps going up and up and up. Cesar Hernandez north of 20 home runs for this bunch as well. So I do take a look at this spot, and I do think that the White Sox should be a very sizable favorite. I was willing to lay up to a minus 186 with them, which leads you to the run line where it's at. And with the White Sox, find that at minus 135. It's a little bit too chalky for me. If I were to take a shot here on the Tigers, I needed at least a plus 185. We have got that right around a plus 190 to a plus 195. I recognize that Rodon should be a favorite, but at the same time, the way that Mr. Menning has pitched at home, it certainly is different on the road. So going to be willing to take a plus price here with the Detroit Tigers. Also wound up setting the total at 8.8, so going to be diving under along with the Tigers. 913, 914 on the betting board. The Texas Rangers are going to be in the road to face off against the New York Yankees. Nestor Cortez is going to be going for the Yankees. Meanwhile, AJ Alexy is going to be on the bump for the Rangers. 9.5 is your total. Over and under are both at minus 110, with the Yankees getting them between minus 245 and minus 260. Meanwhile, your plus price with the Rangers is anywhere between plus 210 and plus 221. And with AJ Alexy, whenever he's been used as a starter, he has been very good. The team stupidly threw him out of the bullpen a few days ago, and I have no idea why. On Monday against the Astros, comes in long relief in a game which is just completely toast. Gives up 6 runs in that one. In his first 2 starts of his career, a combined 11 scoreless innings, giving up 2 hits and 5 walks against the Angels and the Colorado Rockies. He looks superb in both of those, so I think we're going to see more of that rather than the man that wound up coming in long relief. Meanwhile, Mr. Nestor Cortez, this is someone that wound up beginning the year coming out of the bullpen, has been giving up right around 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but his walks per 9, that hovers right around at 2.6. And you take a look at him, he's given up 3 runs or fewer in pretty much every one of his appearances so far this year. When it comes to earned runs, his strikeouts per 9 rate is north of a 10 as well. He's been able to do a great job at Yankee Stadium. .93 ERA across 5 relief appearances and 5 starts. Has given up 5 home runs in 37 and a third innings, but opponents are getting just a .92 off of him. And then with the Yankees, you have been dealing with a little bit of ailment in the bullpen as Jonathan Loaiza currently on the injured list, but Wandy Peralta, Jolie Rodriguez, both of these guys have been able to pick it up a little bit. You've got Mr. Rodriguez, who over the last 30 days has right around a 2 ERA. Chad Green has been able to give you some good innings. Aroldis Chapman, he has been really a hot mess ever since the beginning of the month of June, but you've also got a Yankees lineup in which you've got a trio of guys that have been able to do a good job of going deep for you, as Giancarlo Stanton, along with Aaron Judge and Joey Gallo, all been able to give you at least 30 home runs. Now with Gallo, you're able to throw in there Kyle Higashioka, Brett Gardner, Gary Sanchez, quite a few guys hitting a 225 or lower for this bunch, but you got Anthony Rizzo, Luke Voigt, along with Gleyber Torres, along between about a 244 to a 255. You got DJ LeMahieu along with Tyler Wade, both hitting a 270 for this bunch, so you've been able to get a little bit of something there. And then when you take a look at the flip side for this Texas Rangers bunch, Adolis Garcia has been able to give you 30 home runs, but past that, you got some very rough innings to say the least. Now you do have Andy Ibanez and Willie Calhoun off the injured list. These 2 guys, along with Nate Lowe, you're able to throw in there Yoni Hernandez as well, hitting between about a 250 to a 261, and then Isaiah Caner-Falefa is hitting at 270. DJ Turner Up Peters, his batting average is a 205, but you take a look at him over the last 3 days, he has been able to supply 8 home runs and 10 home runs in total ever since the beginning of the month of August, so he's been able to do a little bit of something there. This is a spot in which I do think that we're going to see Alexi pitch much better than he did out of the bullpen, which is why I wound up saying the Yankees as a sizable favorite, but I was certainly not willing to lay $2 with the Rangers. A plus 194 or greater would have been a bet for me. We are currently at about a plus 220 in a lot of spots, so we're going to be taking a look at the Rangers. Also did wind up saying the total at 9.1. I think that runs are going to be scored, but with the Rangers scoring the fewest runs per game ever since the All-Star break, going to be diving under along with that plus price. 9:15, 9:16 is the New York post play of the day as the Tampa Bay Rays are going to be playing against the Toronto Blue Jays. Robbie Ray goes for the Jays. Meanwhile, Shane Baz is going to be making his debut for the Rays. Toronto's game is anywhere between 8 and 8.5. On the 8, over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. On the 8.5, under is anywhere between minus 115 and minus 120. The over is anywhere between even and minus 105, with the Jays going to be getting them between minus 122 and minus 140. Plus price with the Rays is anywhere between plus 112 and plus 120. It's so fascinating because you've got a guy in Robbie Ray who is right now a Cy Young candidate, and then you've got a team in the Tampa Bay Rays in which they are trotting out there a young 22-year-old that I think is one of the best prospects in all of baseball. You take a look at what Shane Baz has been able to do at the minor league level. Now, it is the minor league level, but he was actually better, by the way, at the AAA level than he was at AA level. Overall for the year, only wound up having a 5-4 record when it came to his minor league numbers, so nothing overly impressive there, but you've got to dive a little bit deeper into it as he wound up doing a great job of posting up a 2.17 ERA overall at the minor league level. 12.9 strikeouts, 1.5 walks per 9, giving up 5.7 hits per 9. They don't necessarily have set batting averages when it comes to minor league numbers, but that is certainly a sub-200. He has been darn near unhittable. He's got great command, and he's backed up by a bullpen ERA that going into Sunday, a 3.26 for the Rays, that is the best out there in the American League. And then you've got a Toronto Blue Jays bunch that, when it comes to being on the road, they rank in the top 6 when it comes to ERA overall on the road. And you got a guy in Robbie Ray who has given up 3 runs or fewer in 19 out of his last 20 starts with a .183 ERA in his last 13 starts. And he's done a good job of being able to lessen the depot. He gave up 20 home runs in his first 83 and a third innings to begin the year. He's given up 8 in his last 93 and 2/3 innings. And then you've got a Toronto Blue Jays lineup that is very fearsome, but we saw them wind up getting shut out last Tuesday against this very Tampa Bay Rays team. But I do think that you're certainly going to get a little bit more than 0 runs in this spot because, well, got a pair of guys with 40-plus home runs. Marcus Semien, Vlad Guerrero Jr. with Guerrero Jr. He is chasing down that home run title, and he's hitting about a 320. You got Bo Bichette along with Teoscar Hernandez, both hitting between a 294 and a 303. For Hernandez, 28 home runs. Bichette is right around 26 of them. Lourdes Gurriel hitting well above a 330 over the last 3 days. He has been nothing short of amazing for this bunch. Randall Grichuk has 20-plus home runs as well, so got a lot of firepower there with the Blue Jays. The bullpen can be a little bit shaky, but it seems like Adam Simber has been able to simber himself down. He's been able to look much better recently. Trevor Richards is relatively reliable. Jordan Romano is right around 2.3-ish ERA. And then with the Tampa Bay Rays, Nick Anderson, JP Fireeisen, and Pete Fairbanks are all back from injury. Andrew Kittredge has a sub-2 ERA. And then you've got a Rays lineup in which you've got a trio of guys with 30-plus home runs. Nelson Cruz, Brandon Lau, along with Mike Zunino. And then you've got a guy in Austin Meadows who's been able to supply 100 RBI. He's been able to go deep 25 times. Got quite a few guys in between, I would say, about a 270 to a 285 as well. Wander Franco, when he winds up getting off the injured list, he's in that fold along Joey Wendell and Randy Arozarena, also has a 350 on base. And you got a lot of guys like a Yandy Diaz, who's hitting at 250 but has a significantly higher on base of a 353. Got G-Man Choi with a 350 on base despite just a 240 batting average as well. So a little bit of an interesting spot, but the New York Post play of the day here is going to be the under. I want to saying the total at 7.5. I think that Baz is going to come in. He's going to be amazing. Both of these bullpens have been really rounding into form recently. I think that Robbie Ray, someone who has faced off against the Rays 5 times this year to an ERA of about a $1.85 with the Rays hitting sub 170 against them, going to be able to do a solid job. I wound up saying the Blue Jays as a favorite of minus 132. So going to be going with the Jays, and I'm going to be going with the under with the New York Post spec. 917, 918 is one of those games between the Indians and the Royals as part of that double dip. So we go to 919, 920 on the betting board. The LA Angels are going to be playing against the Houston Astros. Framber Valdez is going to be going for the Astros. Meanwhile, Aimee Barria is going to be going for the Angels. 9 is your total. Meanwhile, the under is anywhere between -105, -110. The over is anywhere between -110 and -115. For the Astros, it is between -210 and -220. Meanwhile, if you're looking at the Angels, anywhere between +180 and +192. And for Jaime Barria, he wound up having a couple very good starts to begin the year. He's now been a little bit all over the place recently, a 4.93 ERA overall for the season, and he has given up right around 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. You take a look at the length that he's given, not much recently. He's given 4 1/3 innings or fewer in 4 out of his last 5 starts, but has been able to rein it in, giving up 3 runs or fewer in each out of his last 4 starts. Command is beginning to become a little bit of an issue from a combined 8 walks given up in his last 4 starts. So you got a little bit of this and that. He's not much of a swing in this guy, right around 5.5 punch-outs per 9 innings. Meanwhile, you take a look at Framber Valdez, and he's been able to do a very nice job on the road. 10-5 record overall. You take a look at him on the road, 3.39 ERA, 3.12 ERA at home. He has given up just 5 home runs, both home and road, with a very similar amount of innings. So he has certainly been able to get the job done there. And speaking of being able to get the job done, how about this quartet? Yordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve, Kyle Tucker, Carlos Correa. All at least 24 home runs. All guys hitting at least a 276 with at least a 345 on base. Chas McCormick has been able to give you a little bit of something. 13 home runs in a limited amount of at-bats. Alex Bregman, he's hitting about a 295. Michael Brantley has been a little bit banged up recently, but he's hitting a 315 whenever he's out there as well. Then you've got an Astros bullpen that has been able to do a solid job. Kendall Graveman has a sub-2 ERA overall for the season. You've been able to get some good innings recently out of Brian Presley as well. He's got about a 2.25 ERA for the campaign. Blake Taylor along Christian Javier are sort of super relievers for this team. And you take a look at the flip side for the LA Angels. Steve Cishek has been able to give you a couple of solid innings. Andrew Wan seems to be reining it in a little bit as well. But Jose Quijada, Sam Selman, along with someone like a Junior Guerrero, who's probably not even going to be available for this game. These guys have not been great. They're looking at Jimmy Hergo for innings. That is not necessarily what you want, but at the same time, Jaime Barria has been able to do a little bit of something. And this is an Angels lineup that, though they are scoring the second fewest runs per game of any team in the American League ever since the All-Star break, you still do have a little bit of firepower. Shohei Ohtani, Phil Gosselin, Brandon Marsh, all guys hitting between a 253 to a 264. Problem with Ohtani is that he's hitting right around the Mendoza line of 200 ever since July 28th, and we've seen the deep ball really come down from. Jared Walsh is hitting at 270, just 5 home runs ever since the All-Star break, but you do have a couple guys like a Max Sassy that's hitting at 250. That has been beneficial. David Fletcher hitting at 270, but he's also been hitting right around 240 ever since the beginning of the month of August as well. So you've got your ups and downs here. The Astros should be a sizable favorite, but we've also seen them sleepwalk in a lot of games as well. When it comes to the spot, wind up setting the Angels as a plus 175 underdog. So the fact that I'm getting them here as a plus 190, going to wind up taking that. Also wind up setting the total at an 8.8, as I do think that Barria going to be able to give you a halfway decent start. So going under along with the Angels. 921, 922 on the betting board. The Seattle Mariners hit the road to face off against the Oakland A's. Sean Menez going to be going for the A's. Tyler Anderson going to be on the bump for the Mariners. Mariners find themselves as underdogs of anywhere between a plus 132 and a plus 140. Meanwhile, if you're taking a look at the Athletics, anywhere between minus 142 and minus 155. 8.5 is your total. Unders anywhere between minus 115 and minus 120. The overs anywhere between even and minus 105. And for Sean Manaea, it certainly has been a little bit rough sledding for him recently, but by and large for the year, has been able to do a relatively solid job. Right now, ESPN is listing to be determined betting board as Sean Manaea, so we might wind up seeing a little bit of a switcheroo here, but this is as if we are going to be getting Mr. Manaea, as he has been giving up quite a few runs recently. He has given up now at least 3 runs and I believe something like 6 out of his last 9 starts. Things have started to regress on him a little bit, and the big thing has been the deep ball. He has given up a combined 10 home runs over the course of his last 8 starts. That's very not Sean Manaea-like. At home, he has been pretty much the same as on the road. 392 home ERA, 399 road ERA. Has given up a couple more home runs at home, though. 14 bombs at 85 innings compared to 10 in 76 at 2/3 innings on the road. And then you take a look at Mr. Anderson, and half of his starts with the Seattle Mariners have come against the Texas Rangers, so you've got a little bit of strange sampling there. But 3 runs of fear given up in all but one of his starts ever since being acquired by Seattle. That is over the course of 9 starts. He has been giving up the deep ball a little bit. He has given up 8 home runs in his 9 starts as well, but the command has been there, as this is a man that has given up a combined 9 walks in those 8 starts as well. And then you take a look at the Seattle Mariners lineup, and you certainly need guys to hit for a little bit more average, but Abraham Toro ever since coming over is sitting about at 275. Ty France is sitting at 295. JP Crawford at 265, and then you got Mitch Haniger along with Kyle Seager, a pair of guys that have both been able to give you 34 home runs apiece. Now with Seager, you're able to throw in there Jared Kelenic, Jake Fraley, Ore Mamalois, Jake Bauer, Dylan Moore, Cal Raleigh. you could probably insert a couple more guys here hitting a 215 or lower, but certainly haven't been able to get that deep ball going. And for the Seattle Mariners, Paul Sewald has been solid out of the bullpen, has regressed a little bit recently, but Drew's second rider along with Casey Sadler, these guys have been highly reliable for them. And then you take a look at this Oakland A's bullpen, and ever since the last 30 days wound up beginning, so ever since the end of August, this team has been in the bottom 5 with regards to bullpen ERA. Luke Trevino over the last 30 days has a north of 9 ERA. Sergio Romo has really seen things regress on him a little bit. Yasmino Petit has been a little bit up and down as well. Deolis Carrera, though, he's been able to do a solid job in long relief. And then you take a look at this Oakland A's bunch, and you've got a lot of guys with an on-base percentage of a 350 or greater. You got the Marte Parte of Starling Marte. You've been able to get a lot of something out of Matt Olson, and Olson certainly leading the way when it comes to home runs with 36 of them. But you've even had someone like a Yan Gomes be able to step up. Mark Canha has been able to do a good job. And then you got a lot of guys with between 14 and 17 home runs. Mark Canha, Sean Murphy, Seth Brown, Jed Lowry, all in that fold. And Matt Chapman is back as well ever since the beginning of the month of August. Despite missing right around 2 weeks, he has been able to supply the boom with 11 home runs, and in that time span, his on-base percentage has been right around a 345. So you should have the Oakland A's here as a favorite, but at the same time, it becomes how big of a favorite. I was willing to take Manaea up to about a minus 146 if we wind up getting a switcheroo when it comes to the pitcher. Obviously, that's going to be a little bit of a different ordeal, but if you're looking at the run line as well, anywhere between a plus 125 and a plus 135 there, I'm willing to take the A's as long as I'm getting at least a plus 130. So we're going to be taking a look at the A's on the run line, try to reduce that juice, wound up setting the total at an 8.7 as well. So going to be going over with the recent struggles of Manaea and Anderson, just having pitched so much against the Rangers, it's not even funny, to go along with that A's run line. Around things up 923, 924 on the betting board. The Philadelphia Phillies are going to be playing against the Baltimore Orioles. John Means goes for the Royals. Meanwhile, Ranger Suarez is going to be on the bump for the Phillies. It is your total. Over is anywhere between minus 110 and minus 120. Under is anywhere between even a minus 110 with the Phillies. Big favorites of anywhere between minus 184 and minus 190. Meanwhile, if you're looking at the O's, it's anywhere between plus 160 and plus 170. Ranger Suarez has been a godsend for the Philadelphia Phillies. He has given up 3 earned runs or fewer every single time he's taken the mound so far this year. A $1.50 ERA. He has been magnificent both at home and on the road. He's got a worse home ERA than a road ERA. Gas, $1.60 at home, $1.35 on the road, and he just has not been taken deep this year. 4 home runs given up over the course of 84 innings between his starts and his long relief appearances. He's now going north of 5+ innings consistently as well, so he's all stretched out. Meanwhile, you take a look at John Means. He's given up approximately 2 runs in each out of his last 4 starts. He's given up 1 home run, no more, no less, in 4 out of his last 5 as well. So seems like you really know what you're going to be able to get out of him at this point, because he's gotten between 4 and 5 strikeouts and approximately 2 walks in each out of his last 5 starts as well. So that is Mr. John Means, and Means has been better on the road than he has been at home. A home ERA of a 4.55, a road ERA of a 2.48, I will say, ever since the All-Star break, has an ERA that is a little bit closer to 5. He hasn't necessarily been himself since coming off the injured list, but for the Baltimore Orioles, they actually do back him up with a lineup that has a couple guys that are able to take you deep. Ryan Mountcastle along with Cedric Mullins, both between 28 and 30 home runs. Mullins is sitting at 300, and then he, along Trey Boo Boo Mancini, Austin the Say's kid, Ore Mateo, Richie Martin are only between, I would say, about a 255 to a 270. You've got Ramon Urias whenever he's in the fold. He's been able to give you a tad bit of something. And for Mr. Mancini, along with A's, both of these guys, 21 home runs. Anthony Santander is hitting about a 250, but then you've got Peffa Lake, Calvin Gutierrez, Domingo Leyba, Austin Wins, bunch of guys hitting a 210 or lower, throwing their DJ Turn It Up Stewart, and this is a Baltimore Orioles bullpen that's terrible. Cole Sulzer wound up getting used up yesterday. He is pretty much your best reliever. Dylan Tate wound up getting used yesterday as well. He's got right around a 5-ish ERA. Fernando Abad has been very bad for this team. Connor Green wound up giving up runs yesterday, so you don't have a lot there. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, not like this is a great bullpen by any stretch of the imagination, but at the same time, you have been able to have Ian Kennedy rein it in the last week or so after he wound up getting after his start, coming over from Texas over the first month or so in which he had a north of 5 ERA. Hector Neris, very much a hit-or-miss guy. J.D. Hammer had a good go of it, but he is currently injured. And then Archie Bradley has been a little bit of a hot mess recently as well. So this is a spot in which I do think that we're going to be getting runs. I said the total closer to a 9, so I'm going to be taking it over. But with the Phillies, I do think that they're going to be able to have much better performance out of Rangers for us. I was willing to lay up to about a minus $2 on the money line with them. And at the run line at DraftKings, I'm seeing a plus 120 on the Phillies, mostly plus 105 to plus 110 other spots, but I was willing to lay a price here with the Phillies run line, so going to be taking that Phillies run line to go along with the over. And that will wrap things up for the Baseball Betting Podcast on this Monday. A big thanks to Curtis Rogers of 710 ESPN Seattle Mariners pre- and post-game work. Join me in the last segment. If you like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, the Baseball Betting Podcast with Greg Peterson, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you got 1 or 2 ways we all fire those in. description. First one is my Twitter timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larsium, naming does not matter. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to find whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, no matter what city I am in, which means coming at you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in.